We think we live in the most advanced civilization in history. We have smartphones, we've been to the moon, and we can split the atom. But what if that's a lie? What if ancient civilizations possessed technology so far beyond our own that even with all our modern science, we still can't figure out how they did it? Today, we're looking at 10 ancient inventions that simply should not exist. The blade that bent light. In our modern age, we design space-age alloys in supercomputers. But 1,000 years ago, smiths in the Near East were creating a metal with nanostructures we still struggle to comprehend. They hammered steel into legend, creating a blade so sharp and mysterious, its secrets would haunt the world for centuries, a ghost in the machine of modern metallurgy. When European crusaders first encountered these weapons, they returned with impossible stories of blades with an otherworldly pattern, like smoke trapped in glass, that could cleave a lesser sword in two. A Damascus steel blade, they whispered, could slice through a falling silk scarf. Its surface was its signature, a watery pattern known as the damask, but the true secret was not on the surface, but deep within its molecular heart. Modern science has placed these ancient blades under electron microscopes and found something impossible. The steel is an ultra-high carbon composite with invisible nanoscale structures, incredibly hard wires of a substance called cementite, suspended in a softer iron matrix. Even more astonishingly, scientists discovered carbon nanotubes, a revolutionary material of the 21st century, locked within these ancient swords. This was nanotechnology, happening 1,000 years before the term was invented. But here, the story turns into a mystery. The knowledge is gone. The process began with a special Indian crucible steel called woots, but the specific mines that produce this unique ore are lost to time. More importantly, the precise, low-temperature forging technique, the sacred, unwritten knowledge of a handful of master smiths, vanished completely around the year 1800. Today's Damascus is a cosmetic imitation. The internal nanostructure, the source of the blade's soul, remains beyond our grasp. If they could achieve this with ancient tools, what fundamental principles of metallurgy have we completely forgotten? It's a humbling masterpiece of a lost art. But if forging a perfect blade was a lost art of creation, the Byzantines possessed a secret that was even more terrifying, a weapon of pure destruction that could set the sea itself on fire. The fire that burned on water. Modern warfare has napalm and white phosphorus, weapons of terrifying power. But for 1,000 years, the Byzantine Empire wielded a liquid nightmare that did something modern science still can't perfectly replicate. It burned on water. They called it sea fire, but to the world, it would become known as Greek fire. Imagine a fleet laying siege to the walls of Constantinople. The defenders unleashed not arrows, but a torrent of roaring flame from bronze tubes. This fire is like nothing seen before. It clings to wood, sails, and men, a sticky, ravenous substance that cannot be smothered. Water, the universal antidote to flame, is useless. In fact, it only makes the inferno burn hotter, spreading across the sea and turning the very water into a trap. This was not merely a weapon, it was alchemical terror, a dragon's breath made real. Twice in the 7th and 8th centuries, massive Arab fleets arrived to conquer Constantinople. Twice, they were annihilated. Not by superior numbers, but by this single, devastating technological advantage. The fire saved an empire and redrew the map of the world. Its power was absolute, and its secret was impenetrable. The formula was a state secret of the highest order, passed down verbally from one generation to the next, and never written down, lest it fall into enemy hands. Ancient texts give us tantalizing clues: naphtha, pine resin, sulfur, and perhaps the key ingredient, quicklime, which creates a violent reaction with water. But the exact proportions and the pressurized siphon system used to project it are a complete unknown. While we have modern incendiaries, they are different beasts. We cannot create a stable, projectable liquid that ignites and burns on water in the precise way the Byzantines did. How can a chemical recipe, so critical to an empire's survival, vanish so completely from history? It remains a chilling reminder that the most effective way to keep a secret is to let it burn away. But while the Byzantines mastered destruction, the Romans engineered something even more impossible, a material that could defy time by achieving immortality. The concrete that heals itself. We spend billions on infrastructure that crumbles in less than a century. But 2,000 years ago, the Romans built piers and aqueducts that are still standing because they mastered a secret we've only just rediscovered: concrete that heals itself. For 2,000 years, the Pantheon has stood in Rome, its massive coffered dome still the largest unreinforced concrete span on the planet. Along the Italian coast, Roman piers and breakwaters have been battered by the sea for millennia, yet are stronger today than when they were first poured. Our modern concrete would erode into ruin. The Roman structures possess a magical ability to use the elements as a source of strength in a transformation that has baffled scientists for generations. For years, the secret was believed to be its key ingredient, a special volcanic ash called pozzolana. But this was only half the story. It didn't explain how the material could actively repair itself. Only recently have researchers discovered the true genius: tiny, bright white mineral chunks called limeclasts, scattered throughout the concrete, long dismissed as sloppy mixing. We now know these are the key to its immortality. The prevailing theory is that the Romans used a hot mixing technique with quicklime, creating reactive calcium pockets. Millennia later, when a tiny crack forms and seawater seeps in, it activates these clasts. They dissolve and recrystallize, filling the fissure and literally healing the structure's wounds from the inside out. Modern concrete is inert. When it cracks, the damage is fatal. The Romans designed a material that was alive. If their public works were this advanced, what other architectural secrets have we failed to notice? They encoded an architectural DNA that could repair itself. But the Romans didn't just hide secrets in their buildings. One of their most baffling creations was an object so small and so advanced it looks like it came from the future. The cup of a sorcerer. Our modern world is built on nanotechnology, manipulating materials on an atomic level. But in the age of swords and sandals, one Roman artifact survived that simply should not exist, performing a feat of nanotechnology 1,600 years before the word was even invented. It is called the Lycurgus cup, and it is a beautiful impossibility. When lit from the front, the 4th century chalice appears to be a murky, opaque jade green, depicting the grim death of King Lycurgus. But the cup holds a secret. When a light is placed inside it, the entire object undergoes a ghostly transformation. The green vanishes, and the glass begins to glow with a fiery, translucent blood red. For centuries, this dazzling alchemical trick was a complete mystery, a piece of magic from a world of iron and stone that seemed to defy all known laws of craftsmanship. It wasn't until 1990 that scientists, using an electron microscope, finally uncovered its secret. The glass is a marvel of nanoengineering, expertly infused with billions of microscopic particles of gold and silver, each one only 50 nanometers in diameter. These tiny metallic specks interact with light in a very specific way, creating a sophisticated form of what we now call dichroic glass. And that is where the mystery deepens into impossibility. The Romans had no way of seeing, let alone manipulating, matter on the nanoscale. How did they grind gold and silver into a perfectly uniform, invisibly fine dust and know the exact proportions to create this stunning effect? The level of precision is so staggering that the common explanation is that it must have been a spectacular accident. But does a masterpiece of this caliber feel like a random fluke? The cup is a perfect accident that feels too perfect to be an accident at all. It was a single static object of genius. But off the coast of a Greek island, divers found something even more complex, a machine with a soul of bronze and gears. The first computer. We mark the birth of the computer age in the 20th century, with its vacuum tubes and silicon chips. Yet in 1901, divers exploring a Roman shipwreck found the ghost of a machine that would rewrite the entire timeline of human ingenuity. For decades, it sat in a museum, dismissed as a rock, but inside was a device that belonged in another millennium. It was only when modern scientists aimed powerful X-rays and CT scanners at its calcified heart that the truth was revealed. Hidden inside was a universe of interlocking parts, a breathtakingly intricate system of at least 30 precision-cut bronze gears. It was not a weapon or a sculpture, it was a computer, a machine designed to map the heavens. By turning a simple hand crank, its user could predict the future. The front dials charted the movements of the sun, moon, and planets through the zodiac. The back dials contained an even more stunning function, a complex calendar that could accurately foretell solar and lunar eclipses years in advance and even track the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games. This single device, dated to the 2nd century B.C., demonstrates a level of mechanical engineering that feels utterly out of time. Its gears were cut with a precision thought impossible until the clockmakers of 14th century Europe. Most astonishingly, it contained a differential gear, a device crucial to every modern car, which wouldn't reappear in the historical record for another 1500 years. The Antikythera mechanism is a technological masterpiece that shouldn't exist. So, the most profound mystery is not just what it does, but how it was made, and why it stands completely alone. No other artifact of this complexity has ever been found. It is an orphan of technology, a single, brilliant mind that produced a mechanical cosmos, only for the knowledge to be utterly lost to the sea. How can a piece of technology so transformative simply vanish from history? It is a single, intricate clue that the past is stranger than we know. But this level of precision wasn't limited to delicate machines. It was also applied to one of the most brutal weapons of the ancient world. The sword in the stone. We believe the Industrial Revolution gave us the first high-quality steel. But the Vikings, 1,000 years earlier, wielded a legendary sword forged from a metal so impossibly pure it seemed to come from the heavens. It was a blade that carried a single cryptic name, Ulfberht. From the 9th to the 11th centuries, these swords were the absolute apex of military technology. In an age when most swords were soft, fragile iron that could bend or shatter, the Ulfberht was a marvel. It was incredibly strong, yet flexible. It could hold a razor-sharp edge and withstand the brutal shock of battle. To carry an Ulfberht was to wield a weapon touched by myth, a status symbol that marked its owner as a warrior of the highest rank. When modern metallurgists analyzed these blades, they discovered something that should not have been possible. The swords were crafted from crucible steel, a material with an exceptionally high carbon content and a stunning lack of impurities. To make steel this pure, iron ore must be heated to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, a temperature Viking-era furnaces couldn't get anywhere near. The technology to produce steel of this quality wouldn't exist in Europe for another 800 years. So where did this impossible metal come from? Researchers believe the raw steel ingots were forged in the Middle East or Central Asia and traveled thousands of miles along the Vikings' Volga trade route. But that only solves half the mystery. Even with the perfect raw material, the Norse smiths still had to know how to work it, a delicate, secret process of heating and hammering. One mistake could turn a priceless ingot into a brittle, useless piece of iron. With no written manuals, how did they master a metal that no one else in their world understood? The masters who signed their work with the name Ulfberht perfected a technique that has since been lost. It's proof of a lost global connection and a ghostly level of skill. But another mysterious artifact from the Middle East suggests that ancient innovators weren't just mastering metal, but perhaps even electricity itself. The power of the priests. We credit Alessandro Volta in the year 1800 with inventing the battery. But in a dusty museum in Iraq sits a collection of humble clay jars that whispers at the possibility that 2,000 years ago, ancient priests may have already harnessed the invisible power of electricity. They are known as the Baghdad batteries, and they are an enigma. Discovered in the 1930s, the artifacts are deceptively simple. Each consists of a small terracotta pot containing a cylinder of rolled copper. Suspended in the center is an iron rod, held in place by an asphalt plug. To the untrained eye, it's a curiosity. But when these components are combined with a simple electrolyte like vinegar or grape juice, an electrochemical reaction occurs. The jar becomes a primitive galvanic cell capable of producing about 1 volt of electricity. The fact that it works is not in dispute. The paralyzing question is, what was it used for? One theory suggests electroplating, using the current to deposit a thin layer of gold onto a cheaper base metal. Others propose a medical function, a tool for a primitive form of electroacupuncture. But perhaps the most compelling theory is that the batteries were instruments of power and faith. Imagine a temple, where a priest concealed these jars within a metal statue of a god, delivering a small, inexplicable shock to any follower who touched it, a direct manifestation of a god's power. The problem with all these theories is the complete lack of context. No wires have ever been found. No texts from the period mention them. No artifacts showing the distinct marks of electroplating have been definitively linked to the batteries. How could a working electrical device exist in the ancient world with absolutely no instructions or associated tools? They are a phantom limb of technology, a power source disconnected from the machine it was meant to operate. But if this small jar is a mystery, our next location holds an entire city of stone, cut with a precision that seems to defy the laws of physics. The impossible stones of a lost city. We believe that precision engineering requires advanced tools, but high in the barren Andes of Bolivia, 13,000 feet above sea level, lies the shattered ruin of a city whose stones are cut with such alien precision that local legends say it was not built by men at all, but by giants from the stars. It is a place that defies explanation. The site of Pumapunku is a chaotic jumble of colossal stone blocks, some weighing over 100 tons. But these are not crude boulders. They are the remnants of a sophisticated, interlocking structure made from grey andesite and red diorite, volcanic rock with a strength approaching that of diamond. The most famous are the H-blocks, dozens of identical, intricately shaped stones, seemingly mass-produced with an unearthly uniformity and carved with a perfection that feels impossible. The precision is simply mind-bending. The blocks feature perfectly planar surfaces, complex interior cuts, and external right angles as true as any modern engineer could produce. Some stones have long, thin grooves, little more than a millimeter wide, cut to a perfectly uniform depth. Others are perforated by small circular drill holes that run flawlessly through the hard rock. This would be a challenge even today with diamond-tipped power tools. And that is the heart of the paradox. The Tiwanaku culture, credited with building Pumapunku, was a Bronze Age society. They had no iron tools, no written language, and had not even invented the wheel. Their known toolkit consisted of stone hammers and simple bronze chisels. So how is it possible that a civilization with primitive tools created stonework that would challenge our own machinists? The builders of Pumapunku left no records, only a ghostly silence and the perfect, impossible stones. It's a monument to a lost technology we cannot comprehend. But this kind of advanced structural thinking wasn't just on the ground. Another ancient society hid an equally modern secret inside their statues. The iron skeletons of giants. Our modern skyscrapers and monuments all rely on a simple principle, an internal metal skeleton for support. We think of this as a modern innovation. But the ancient Greeks had the same idea, a structural secret so advanced it would vanish for 1,500 years. On the island of Sicily, the Greeks began construction on the temple of Olympian Zeus, designed to be the largest Doric temple ever conceived. Its most radical feature was its support system. Instead of columns, the roof was to be held aloft on the shoulders of giants' colossal stone statues known as telemons. Each stood 38 feet tall, a stone titan with its arms raised to bear the building's immense weight. The temple was never finished and was eventually toppled by an earthquake, its giants shattered. As archaeologists in the modern era began to piece one of the fallen giants back together, they uncovered a secret hidden deep within its stone anatomy. The statue was an intricate assembly of precisely fitted blocks, and running through them were carefully carved channels. Inside, they found the rusted, telltale traces of iron, the ghost of a metal skeleton. The Greek engineers had forged an internal armature, a hidden framework of iron bars that ran up the statue's spine and into its outstretched arms. The iron rods acted like bones and tendons, distributing the crushing weight of the roof. This was a breathtaking leap in engineering, a fundamentally modern concept, treating the structure not as a block, but as a complex anatomical system. But how did they even conceive of an idea that wouldn't become common practice until the construction of the Statue of Liberty? The secret of the iron skeletons was so advanced that when the city fell, the knowledge died with it. It's a powerful reminder that progress is not a straight line. But our final invention wasn't designed to last forever. It was designed to make you forget everything, if only for a moment. the drug of no sorrows. Today, we have a complex pharmaceutical industry to treat sorrow and anxiety. But in the ancient world, there was a whisper of a single legendary elixir so powerful it could erase grief entirely. The Greeks called it Nepenthe, the drug of no sorrows, and its true identity is a ghost that has haunted medicine for 3,000 years. Our first and only real glimpse of it comes from the pages of Homer's epic, the Odyssey. In it, Helen of Troy slips a substance into the wine of her grieving guests. Homer's description of its effect is both chilling and seductive. He calls it a medicine against sorrow and anger, a drug to lull all pain. Whoever drank this concoction, he wrote, would not shed a single tear for an entire day, even if their mother and father died before their eyes. It was a potion that offered total emotional oblivion. For centuries, historians and botanists have debated whether Nepenthe was merely a poetic invention or a real substance. The clues have sent researchers down a dozen different paths. The Egyptian connection points strongly to a high-potency form of opium, a drug the Egyptians were masters of. Other theories suggest a different psychoactive plant, perhaps a now-extinct species of belladonna, or a complex herbal cocktail whose recipe is lost. This is the heart of the mystery. Unlike so many other ancient remedies documented by physicians, Nepenthe has no definitive formula. No text outlines its preparation. No botanical guide definitively identifies its source. It exists only in the ephemeral lines of an epic poem, a phantom in the ancient pharmacy. With all our knowledge of chemistry and botany, why can't we identify a substance so vividly described? The true identity of Nepenthe is a secret that nature, or perhaps history itself, has chosen to keep. It remains a powerful symbol of lost knowledge, a testament to a time when medicine and magic were intertwined. So, 10 inventions that prove our history is far stranger than we've been told. These aren't just curiosities, they're evidence. Evidence that we are not the pinnacle of innovation, but perhaps just a civilization rediscovering the genius that our ancestors already mastered. It begs the uncomfortable question, what other impossible technologies have been lost to time? Let me know in the comments which invention you think is the most undeniable proof. And if you want to explore more secrets buried in our past, watch this video on the screen right now.